So let's talk about ambiguous backfields because my guy Jimmy Williams on YouTube, this is a shout out to you. You actually talked about ambiguous backfields and you wanted us to talk about Miami and the Patriots, but I actually think there's a lot more. There are tons of backfields that are pretty ambiguous. And I know that we talked about it in the group chat. I want to touch on some of those backfields, whether it's the Rams or the Chargers or the Saints. And I know what you're thinking. Alvin Kamara is there with the Saints, but what if Alvin Kamara goes down? I want to talk about some of these backfields and who do you guys think is the best handcuff to have in the backfield? I know we did a segment last week on handcuffs, but let's talk about ambiguous backfield. So let's start off with Miami because I know that we touched on that quite a bit.
Wait, before we get to Miami, let me just mention the Texans real quick because I need to take that L. Okay,
Good.
Preseason should not, it's just one preseason game, but we've been kind of hearing some things, kind of here and there, and we've been constantly talking about it. And Dale's always been draft Philip Lindsay. So we went from like, okay, David Johnson is a value in the 9th and 10th
I have
round.
tons of Johnson too. Yeah,
the crazy thing is, and I feel bad, and I apologize to everyone out there who I was like, draft David Johnson. I mean, I have some David Johnson shares, but I have way more Philip Lindsay shares. But I also did mention when you draft David Johnson, because of where Philip Lindsay was going, especially at that time,
it was easy to handcuff.
Yeah, and I didn't even consider it a handcuff, but I felt like both were going so late that I'll just grab one running back from that backfield. So I'm taking an early L on that. And again, anything can change. David Johnson's still getting the third down role. And when I talked about it, I talked about like they were likely going to be a negative game script. My idea was that, or what I envisioned and what I thought, and again, this is where you kind of get yourself into trouble with assumption, was that it was really going to be David Johnson and Philip Lindsay as the main ball carriers. I felt like Ingram was really going to be kind of in a minor role or even off the team. And my thought process was that because they were going to be in a negative game script situation, that David Johnson was going to get the majority of the hurry up, the 2-minute offense and the third down work. So the receptions, which is really what we cared about. And I felt like he's more the back to be used at the goal line. So I felt like the valuable touches in that backfield were going to go to David Johnson. So obviously, we saw the depth chart news and we kind of already heard about it before. Philip Lindsay just somehow is my most highest owned running back, by the way. Right?
Good. Wow. Very good.
But even then, I'm at the point right now, especially because I'm anticipating Philip Lindsay's ADP rising. I won't be drafting any Texans running back now because we have to, or at least early on right now, there's the assumption that Mark Ingram is a co-starter with Philip Lindsay. So we're seeing those two split the first, the early down work, and then David Johnson coming in for the third down work. 2 I can deal with. 3 is too much for me. Yeah, so
I still
taking it. I'm taking the L on that.
Obviously I got a lot of Lindsay. I've been trying to tell everybody to draft as much Lindsay as possible. To me, other than what I heard and all the, because again, we have our personal beliefs as far as talent, but again, like we mentioned earlier today, it doesn't matter. It's all about what the coaches care about. To me, the best pure runner out of the 3 was Philip Lindsay. We saw what David Johnson has looked like in these last 2 years, and if you talk about a player that looks broken, I mean, David Johnson, when he's in the backfield running the ball, he just has not produced.
Him and Gurley were 2 guys we didn't want to draft. We were not drafting those guys last year.
It just was not happening whatsoever.
Yeah.
He looked slow getting out the blocks.
Yeah.
He wasn't breaking tackles. He did look good when he was catching the ball, coming out the backfield or lining out wide. But as far as just being a running back, and I've always been under the assumption that this Texans team wants to run the ball a lot more. So if you bring in the type of players they brought in, Ingram, they actually brought in Ingram first before Lindsay was available. Lindsay was tagged, I don't know if it was the transition or the franchise tag by the Broncos, so he wasn't even available. But then during the offseason, at one point, they took the tag away from Lindsay. Once they rescinded the offer, the Texans ended up signing Lindsay. So they signed, or Lindsay wasn't even available when Ingram was signed. So who's to say if Lindsay was available from the jump, they probably wouldn't even have signed Ingram, And I even think they restructured David Johnson's contract by that time period. So they still brought this guy in. Again, for me, he's the best pure runner. And I was hearing the reports even as far back as OTAs as far as him getting those first team reps. So he was always a value. Where he's going now, I still don't think people believe in the Texans.
If he's going 11th, 12th, I mean, even the 10th, depending on how your team is started. If he's going there, then yes, draft him.
I think he's still going to be available there because I still think people are not going to really feel like drafting the Texans running back.
Because think about it. Number one, again, and I think this is like a little trick that I use for, I'm going to call this a bad team, a non-playoff team. Let's use that term, a non-playoff team.
We going to the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, but that back half of the season, that's when they get into player evaluation mode, especially in a rebuilding franchise. You know, whether we want to call them rebuild or not, but that's when they get into player franchise mode. So these veterans, it could be the littlest thing. It's going to be, you're sitting out this week, maybe 2 weeks, okay? And again, Ingram and David Johnson are already older backs anyway.
Right.
So
over 30, both
exactly. So if you can get Lindsay in those double-digit rounds, and I guess now's the time to do it. And you know, we've mentioned Lindsay before on the podcast, so you should have been getting him anyway. I'll take a partial L. No, I'll take the full L. I'll take the full L. But yeah, if you can get Lindsay now, just again, he's one of those guys you just kind of hold on to because all it's going to take is one of those guys to be removed from the equation. Okay, and now you got your Phillip Lindsay that you had in Denver Broncos, and he was being drafted a lot earlier than the 11th and 12th
And
round.
all those guys do have injury concerns.
Yeah, they all got injury concerns.
Now, as far as the other ambiguous backfields, you mentioned the Patriots.
Let's talk about the Patriots for a second.
The guy I'm high on, and we've talked about him already on the show, Damien Harris, who I didn't watch the game, but
you were high on him early too.
Yeah, but apparently I guess people felt like whatever happened in the game made his value improve because I'm seeing all these tweets as far as rocket ships up, you know, the stock market graph going up. Something happened in that game. I love
that emoji, bro.
I don't know. So
I don't.
So Damien Harris is there. Sony Michel is still there, and that's a guy everybody expected to be moved at some point, if not made the team. But he's still moving. Now, with that being said,
it doesn't make sense for them to move him though, because if Damien Harris hasn't been the most healthiest back, but if Damien Harris goes down, then who's filling his spot? Don't tell me Ramondre.
They have other guys. They have other guys, and
they have other guys, but not other guys that play that early down role.
Actually, they do. I haven't got to him yet, but they do.
Don't say Ramondre Stevens.
I'm not gonna say him, but Sony Michel. But here's the thing with Sony Michel. He was playing into the third quarter of that Patriots preseason game. Usually a guy from historically in preseason game that I've seen, guy that's typically in the plans for the team as far as being a high-end player is not playing into the third quarter. You know, it's not like he's a young rookie or anything like that. But anyways, they have him. They have James White. But the other guy they have, and they talked about it, or I talked about it on the show I was in on the Go District yesterday with Shelly. They have J.J. Taylor.
He's a small guy though.
J.J. Taylor,
he's a special teams guy.
He's small as in height. He's not small as in
he is not an in between attack. He's not going to replace Damien Harris.
He was running that way last year, and they gave him a lot of carry. They gave him a fair amount of carry. All I'm saying, he's there.
He's a scat back.
He's there. He's not a passing down back.
But what I'm saying is that I think the reason that they're not just giving away Sony Michel is because they want a legit RB2.
Okay, I mean that's fine. I'm just saying
running back.
There's guys there, and then of course there's Ramondre Stevenson who. He ran a long play, I guess.
Literally at the end of the game, did not even matter. That was consequential.
So he's there. So the guy for me is still Damien Harris. I'm not wavering. I mean, y'all know me. Nothing in this preseason can happen that's going to really sway what I see in anything. So that's that. Now,
let me say. So it also didn't change anything for me because also who we saw playing with the first team was James White. And James White has been the forgotten man, and he's like one of the last running backs drafted.
Is he? I think he's still being taken like.
Well, I mean,
13th round.
You know what I mean? He's going. No, he's going later than that.
Really? Yeah, way later.
I feel like he's going way later than that. So he's playing with the first team, and then again, if you're looking at Mac Jones starting, well, now you got a non-mobile quarterback. And again, this is why I'm so high on DeAndre Swift. When you have and when I say non-mobile, I don't just mean non-mobile that they're like the Konami codes. I also mean like non-mobile in the pocket. Some quarterbacks can really move in the pocket. They may not run, but they can really move in the pocket.
Right.
Stafford is kind of like that. He wants to be a throwing quarterback, but he can move in the pocket and maybe a scramble a little bit here or there. But he really moves in the pocket because he's really looking downfield. But when you have a non-mobile quarterback, they're going to sit in the pocket for a little bit, and if their reads aren't there, dump it down, especially in this offense. So James White, I think has just been a value in drafts, and that's one reason why I don't have a lot of Damien Harris. And it's just it's a personal preference when it comes to drafting, because I'm not saying that he's not a value in the 8th to 9th to 10th round, but he's not the type of running back that I'd like to draft on my team. He has value. And if I'm in a pinch, if I go 0 RB or what have you, et cetera, or he falls to round 10, yes, I'm going to take him, and maybe I'll use him here or there. But he's not the running back that I'm like, okay, yeah, I want that guy as my RB2.
I think you're sleeping on Damien Harris, man.
I want a running back that's not just going to run on first and second down. I want a running back that's going to be able to catch passes.
I'm not sure. I believe he's going to only be a first and second down running back personally, but I mean.
So that means that offense would have to literally change everything that they've done. For the last decade.
They kind of have to. I mean, they're bringing in a new quarterback. I mean, Cam.
How do they have to? They don't have to.
Brady's gone. The offense to me was Brady. Everybody knows.
Okay, so Mac Jones is Brady.
Matt Jones.
No, stop.
Matt Jones.
No. He's the replacement. Not Brady. He's the replacement, not from a talent standpoint.
Nobody's a true replacement for Brady. We all know that. Brady is his own offense.
Look, so I'm not saying that his talent is anything like Brady's. What I'm saying is that they brought in Mac Jones. Mac Jones is more like Tom Brady than Cam Jones is. Not from a talent standpoint.
Cam Newton.
Not from a talent standpoint, but I'm talking about from a standpoint of how they run that offense.
For me, Damien Harris's value is higher with Mac Jones than it is with Cam.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with.
That's actually a good thing.
That I agree with.
So that's the Patriots' ambiguous backfield.
Yeah. What about the Jets?
Okay, so the Jets.
Ooh.
So y'all know.
Yeah, we haven't really been on.
I guess I'm always just in the minority with these.
That's why you got to put it on tape because they don't know. You got to put it on wax. They don't know.
But we know. For a long time I've been on Tevin Coleman. I don't even remember why. I think it's because I was saying that he came from the 49ers, which is the new OC for the Jets. That's where they came from. The head coach came from the 49ers. He's the veteran. They paid him a okay amount of money. He still has talent. He just has been injured. So I've been on Tevin Coleman. But the other guys there is Michael Carter, and that's the guy that everybody's trying to draft. He's going in the 6th, 7th round.
Mostly 7th, I think.
Yeah, 6th or 7th round. So that's the target for most people. Most people, they're really high on Michael Carter. Really, really high. And we've talked about him already a little bit, that we're not as high on him, or I don't know if you changed your mind.
No, I like his talent.
Yeah, talent.
But I don't like that situation.
Yeah,
because I felt like, and even going to the preseason, I felt like Ty Johnson looked pretty damn good.
Johnson.
And when Ty Johnson's in a running back by committee, he can look good for a long period of time.
Ty Johnson was drafted by the Lions last year, maybe, or maybe the year before. Super fast. Like I think he was one of the fastest guys in his combine. But he was waived by the Lions and picked up by the Jets midseason last year. So he's just another cog in that room. And then they still have LaMichael Pirine.
And I hear random, just positive
about Pirine?
drum beats about Pirine.
Really?
Yes.
He went to the University of Florida. He's Samaje Perine's cousin, I believe. But he got a little burn last year. They still have Josh Adams. I don't know if y'all remember Josh.
Oh, yeah, I remember Josh Adams with the Philadelphia Eagles. He gave me some good weeks.
Big dude. Yep. They still have him there for whatever reason. And they might even have another guy that we're not even mentioning. So they just have all these pieces. They might be a full-blown committee.
Yeah.
Full-blown committee. Now, I will say, from things I've seen and read, Coleman is getting a lot of first-team reps.
He has been. And he didn't play in this game.
And Coleman is somebody you can draft real late. So if you want to bet or use a stay-ready bet, ability, we're probably going to say Tevin Coleman,
No, in terms of who to draft?
Yeah.
I'm not drafting Tevin. I started, I believe what you said. I understood what you said, but it came down to the talent.
So you drafted Michael Carter in the 6th?
I've not seen Tevin Coleman I've not seen him succeed in this zone blocking scheme.
So you're drafting Michael Carter in 6th?
No, I'm not.
So who are you drafting?
I'm not drafting any of them. If I had to pick one, I would Ty Johnson. Or maybe Michael Carter if he fell to the 7th
You're not drafting Ty Johnson, man.
I've drafted Ty Johnson before.
You're not drafting Ty Johnson.
I've drafted Ty Johnson before. You didn't watch the game.
The game swayed you that much?
It didn't sway me. If you would have asked me this question 3 weeks ago, it would have been Ty Johnson.
Really?
For a second, it was Tevin Coleman because you got me up to Tevin Coleman. But then I
Ty
remembered,
Johnson.
Okay, I've seen Tevin Coleman play plenty of time, and I'm not saying Tevin Coleman's a bad player. I just, I've not seen him succeed in his offense, and he's had all the opportunities.
Okay, but before this past game this weekend, you're telling me you were targeting or you had an eye on Ty Johnson.
I probably have more Ty Johnson. I definitely have more Ty Johnson than I have Michael Carter.
Really?
I don't really have a lot of them though. I mean, I'm not targeting any of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the other team you were mentioning?
Well,
you said Miami too, right?
Right. So
But
let's
didn't
talk
we talk about them already?
We kind of did, but I mean, Myles Gaskin is going kind of high for a
Well, now
guy that
he's
looks like
going
he's
late.
Yeah,
a
he's
change
starting to
of
fall a
pace.
little bit.
I'm in a main event right now, and we are going into the 8th round. I want to say mid-8th, and he's still on the board. He's still he's still available.
He was going a lot higher than that earlier in this draft season. So.
Yeah.
Because people were still searching for a running back.
Yeah.
Especially if people that went zero running back,
Yeah.
they were still searching for some kind of starter that can give them, at least points every week, at least week one. The problem
It was that same deal where like we want this guy to succeed, so we're just gonna completely trash this other guy.
Right.
Like we're just gonna say Malcolm Brown is a nobody. Don't worry about him. This is Miles. But the problem is Gaskin. Okay, he was okay last year. He was good, but his talent is not on the level, where he can just,
or he has that job
dominate.
security.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or where an offensive coordinator is gonna say, okay, yeah, this is your backfield.
Right.
They don't owe him anything.
Yeah, people for me, when I look at these every year when these drafts come around, I always look at these players that a year prior we were not drafting. Nobody even really knew who they were.
Yeah.
That's who Myles Gaskin was. Nobody was drafting Myles Gaskin last year. Myles Gaskin. I don't even remember who the Dolphins. They had Jordan Howard last year, I think. They had somebody else.
Howard,
back there.
And Jordan Howard was not a fan, or the OC at the time was
He
not
didn't
a
like
fan.
him.
He did not like him.
Yeah.
He did not feel like
Yeah.
he fit his system, which is
Yeah.
why they really didn't use him. So there was a situation that was created where basically there was not, a Malcolm Brown there, and it was really just Gaskin.
Right. So he just kind of fell into that position. He thrived to some extent, but he wasn't a guy that they picked up specifically to be their main back.
Yeah.
And we mentioned it already. They signed Malcolm Brown. He was one of their first signings. And I heard the coaches talk about how they liked the way he looked when the Rams played the Dolphins last year as far as how he was running in pass blocking. So they favored him to some extent. You have the Garrett Dokes. We talked about him already, who's a rookie who actually looked pretty good. He was one of the higher ranked running backs in the draft. He didn't go high. It was a 7th round pick, but he was there. They wanted to get Javonte Williams. They still have some Salvon Ahmed or whatever. Salvon Ahmed. Right. Yeah. So there's other players there that just kind of mess around with those touches.
This team wants to pass, and they want to pass down the field. Okay?
Yeah. And their offensive line is not that great.
It's not that great. So I think the reason that Malcolm Brown is like going to be getting a lot of this work is because he's going to be pass blocking a lot. So I think and that's just not a skill set or where
Malcolm Brown is another guy I was mentioning a long time ago to tell everybody to kind of.
We gave you credit on that already. Did we talk about Jags already?
We did.
No, we did not talk about the Jags.
Did we talk about the Jags?
No, we didn't talk about the Jags backfield. Okay.
All right.
This is where okay.
We've talked about the Jags before, though.
It's just one preseason game. Okay. I really don't want much of Travis Etienne in the 4th round.
Okay.
I really don't even want him in the 5th round. Okay.
Is he going in the 4th?
He's going in the 4th or 5th. I think he, especially for people who go 0 RB.
Okay.
Because they think the talented guy, Percy Harvin role, receptions, etc. He's like, I think, the perfect 0 RB target. But I see him go in the 4th round, or at the very least early 5th. And whether you want to look at depth charts, whether you want to look at beat reporters, whether you want to look at the first preseason game, whether you want to even listen to coach speak, everything has basically said and shown that James Robinson is going to be the lead running back. But that also, like you mentioned before, Carlos Hyde is going to get some touches as well. And then Travis Etienne is going to be kind of mixed in here or there, not as a 3rd down back, okay? He's not going to be the 3rd down back. So his touches are going to have to be designed. But how many design touches is he going to get? From a standpoint of him being fantasy viable. I just cannot touch him in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I don't even want him in the 5th round, to be quite honest. I have 1 to 2 shares just to say, okay, just in case. But I think people view him as, people view him in the same light of Javonte Williams. And I would rather have Javonte Williams if we talk about Broncos backfield. I'd rather have Javonte Williams because people view him as that running back that, okay, you just got to be patient, and then towards the end of the year, he's going to take over the lead job. I don't see it that way at all. I think he has a role, and that is his role for this year. And I even think, again, he was one of those guys where I've said it before and I'll say it again, like I was not impressed by his college tape. Okay, he was in a very good offense, running through wide open lanes. He had a very athletic quarterback who was running RPOs. Teams were worried about the pass game, and they were worried about the quarterback specifically. And so he was either, one-on-one with linebackers, or just, in open space. Well, yes, in open space against a linebacker, he's going to be able to do some great things.
Yeah. And
if they can scheme and they make him a focal part, maybe he'll have some value from that standpoint. But there are a lot of talented pieces in this offense, and this is the NFL. So, drafting him in the 4th round to me is just it's hard to swallow.
Yeah. So you wanted to also talk about the Saints backfield as an ambiguous backfield.
I did. Oh no, you did.
No, I didn't mention the Saints.
Somebody put it into
we can talk
group
about
chat.
it if y'all want, but I didn't mention. To me, it's not really that ambiguous. Kamara is the guy.
Kamara's the guy.
Like, he's the guy. Now, if you want to talk about the depth behind him, everybody right now is under the assumption it's going to be Latavius Murray. And I say it as if it's not, but it most likely will be Latavius Murray. But there's a few things you just have to kind of be aware of. Number one, the Saints do have an out in that Latavius Murray contract. Latavius Murray is older, 31 or 32 years old. He doesn't have a great skill set. He's a bruiser. He's strong, okay speed, but it's not something that you can't replace one way or another. They just added Devontae Freeman, who's somebody who, 2 years ago, you would look at as more talented than Latavius Murray. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to get rid of or move on for Latavius Murray. That's all I'm really saying.
I would be shocked.
No. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I would be shocked.
The guy that was there that I had my eye on for a while was Stevie Scott. He played college. He's a rookie from Indiana. They actually just waived him, so I guess ignore that guy. But the other guy they're talking about this week is this Tony Jones guy that he looked pretty good when we were here on Saturday. We were seeing him kind of run a little bit, so he looked pretty good. And again, Devontae Freeman's there. They're not going to keep all of those running backs. Somebody's got to go.
I think both Latavius and Freeman remain on the roster.
So they might get rid of Tony Jones. But all I'm saying is, with that out, NFL is still a business. People are trying to save money. Yeah. And Kamara, they just paid Kamara last year. So he's making a good amount of money. Do you want to invest all that money in Kamara and then still pay Murray when you can get rid of him, still get that same production as a backup? I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints do it. Now, with that being said, I don't think it's ambiguous at the moment. We know what it is.
Yeah, this is why I think Latavius stays on the roster. Okay, I think that they are really going to harp on running the ball and having their running backs be involved significantly in the pass game. I don't really see Kamara getting more carries or significantly more carries because he's just not that type of running back, and they want to keep him fresh. This team still has playoff aspirations. So I think that they just didn't have somebody that was behind Latavius Murray, and they wanted depth. Understanding that Michael Thomas is hurt, Drew Brees is no longer there, that they may be more run heavy. They needed depth. Remember we talked about this a couple times. There's an additional game this year. Yeah. We can't underestimate that, and I think coaches and teams understand that you can't just run your teams and run your players into the ground. So having that depth there, I think, is important. So I think that's what Freeman provides, is depth at that position. Now, do Latavius and Freeman split carries? That's up in the air. Who knows? So to me, Latavius is less of that. Okay, let's target him as one of the higher priced handcuffs. But the other thing that I think went under the radar was that I think there was a comment or a quote, and I can't remember if this was from the coach or the beat writer, but they mentioned that one of the reasons they brought in Freeman is because they had to take Ty Montgomery and move him to wide receiver. That reduced their depth at the running back position. And if you watch that preseason game, Ty Montgomery was running with the first team, and he was running real receiver routes, and he was running out of the slot. and they were short routes, underneath routes, and there were intermediate routes. He ran one down the seam. Okay. I don't know what Ty Montgomery's designation is. I'm not saying start drafting Ty Montgomery now, but if but listen, listen. If Ty Montgomery has a running back designation, just keep an eye on it, okay? Just keep an eye on it because they still haven't brought in anybody of significance. Who did they bring in just recently? What's his name?
Receiver Kevin White.
Kevin White, failed first round pick. That's again, people always want to bring up. Well, this guy was a first round pick. This dude was drafted top 10 overall, as amounted to absolutely
a lot of
nothing.
injury issues though.
I mean, even he's came back from injuries. He still hasn't done anything. He's been on plenty of teams. So, but either way, they brought in Kevin White. They have a bunch of So for Ty Montgomery to be running with the first team, and remember, this team has always been kind of high on Ty Montgomery. Just from a player standpoint, they went out and got him. So I'm just saying, again.
Don't draft Ty Montgomery.
Only because from a running back standpoint, if you're going 0 RB, you never know. If he ends up being a slot receiver, because who's their slot receiver right now?
Still don't draft him. Anyways.
Let's talk
don't be surprised if Murray leaves. What was it?
Let's talk about one more team, though.
Okay.
Tampa Bay. Because I don't know what to do with Tampa Bay. I mean, Ronald Jones. Is it Leonard Fournette? They just got Gio.
I'm going Gio.
Yeah, this was as soon as they signed Gio, this question was answered.
Easy.
Really?
Yeah. We've never had, which is why we literally the only person we drafted is Gio.
Yeah. I have no Rojo or
zero. And that's hard to not have a share of a certain player, especially drafted in that mid-tier round. That's hard. That's hard to do. I have 0.
So you guys think Gio is going to own that backfield?
No. He's getting the passing
He's
down.
the most valuable one.
Yeah, I expect him to get the 2-minute work. The third down work. And remember, we've seen James White operate in the red zone and at the goal line. We know that Brady runs quick, okay? So if it's a third down and Gio's in there and they convert and Brady's like, let's go. Gio's staying on the field. And they get in the red zone, he's not calling the timeout to say, let's get this bruiser in. Yeah. No, he will run that offense.
And Gio can run through the middle of the whole
People forget. Go back and look. You know what? Go back and look at Gio's when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers towards the end of the season. Go back and that game's on YouTube. Go back and look at that game, and that'll give you everything that you need to know. That was just last year.
What round is Gio going in right now?
I'd probably say
I think he just had a board up.
Let me see.
13th to 14th round.
Because when I was taking him, I was getting him real late. Real late. So
Gio went in the 13th.
Kind of went up a little bit.
Yeah. We were that's like 16, 17, 18.
Really late in the draft. So,
which is where we're getting certain players right now.
Yeah. These boards is crazy, man.
It's definitely in flux.
These boards are crazy.
I said, God, give me a warning. Please take me for the morning, so I leave more disappointments than I ever will appointments. Give a fuck about your feelings, rub it in. This your ointment can't depend on the oinker. Find your pick in the blanket.